All of you, I wanted to show up here and let me just make sure my audio is on there. All right, well, I wanted to first of all see how you are all doing and show up here on Instagram Live. I've got some notes that I want to share with you to go through how you can deal with lockdown fatigue. You know, I heard a really interesting podcast yesterday, and I encourage you to listen to the episode. It's from Zelda, and I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce her name. I guess it's an African name, but it's Zelda Lagrange. She was Nelson Mandela's personal assistant for almost 20 years. And she started a podcast, and my friend Lionel, who is a genius grade South African artist, said, "Robin, you've got to listen to this podcast." So again, it's Zelda, and it's spelled, her last name is Lagrange, I believe. And she's done this episode about the lockdown lessons from Nelson Mandela. In other words, using Nelson Mandela's experience in confinement for 18 years on Robben Island, 27 years of total confinement, and how we can learn from what he experienced to get through lockdown. And, you know, if there's one historical hero that speaks to the deepest and best place within me, it's Nelson Mandela. And if you've been following me for years, you know, in the 5 a.m. Club, I wrote about Robben Island, and my life changed a few years ago when I stood in Nelson Mandela's prison cell. And I've been to the limestone quarry, and I saw where the great man Mandela showered, and I saw the commissary, and I saw the office of propaganda, and I stood in Nelson Mandela's prison cell, and I've been to the courtyard where he planted tomatoes and he hid his manuscript of Long Walk to Freedom. And so I really commend to you Zelda's episode in her podcast where she talks about, you know, what she learned from him. And some of the things I've read about Nelson Mandela and some of the things she also confirmed. Nelson Mandela was an early riser. He was not a member of the 5 a.m. club. He did even better. He was a member of the 4:30 a.m. club. I was up today at 3:23. I don't know why, but you know, it's the most interesting thing. It was just, I'm in this really creative zone and cycle, and I just follow where the muse leads me. So Nelson Mandela would get up at 4:30, and then he would exercise. And for any one of us who has an excuse for not exercising at home in lockdown, Nelson Mandela exercised in his prison cell. He would do push-ups, he would run on the spot, and he would make sure he got his BDNF flowing, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, and he released dopamine, and he released serotonin, which is the feel-good neurotransmitter. By the way, when you exercise first thing in the morning, you release norepinephrine, which boosts your focus. And right now, it's a really important time to stay focused on what's most important. What else did I learn from listening to Zelda talk about her time as Nelson Mandela's personal assistant? Oh, she asked Nelson Mandela, "What do you do when you wake up on Robben Island and when you woke up on Robben Island in your prison cell and you felt depressed?" And here's an interesting insight for us. He said, "I would find people who were positive that day, you know, my fellow political prisoners, and I would feed off of," he didn't use the word feed off of, but I would be around them so I would be my spirits would be lifted. And on the days that they were feeling discouraged and he was feeling better, they would come to him. Something important, there's a lot of anxiety in the world right now, a lot of people are feeling depressed. Reach out to someone if you need to be uplifted. And, you know, it's also a great time to work on your own positivity, work on your own inspiration. Maybe it's learning to meditate. If you've never meditated, I meditate generally 2 times a day. And I'm no one special, but meditation is so profound. Meditation, science confirms meditation boosts your immune system, which is important right now. It reduces inflammation, which prevents dis-ease. Meditation reduces your blood pressure. Meditation reduces this pharmacy of mastery in your brain that'll make you feel better. And there's a great podcast I've been recommending for years. It's called Meditation Oasis. There's some apps that have meditations, but they're good. But I want something that's going to go a little deeper. And I like 20-minute meditations. And by the way, I'm really excited to share with you, if you want to learn how to meditate with me, I just did yesterday a meditation called the lockdown meditation. It's 20 minutes, or 15 minutes. So it's not 3 minutes, I believe in longer form content. I don't really cater to sort of the entertaining 2-minute content. The people who I want to serve everyone, but I write longer blog posts, and my books are longer, and my meditations are longer, because I believe that depth and rich value is very important. And so if you want this new lockdown meditation that I recorded yesterday, which it's a guided meditation where I sort of take you through this experience. It's an experiential meditation, and it teaches you how to re-access your bravery, feel more confident, feel more positive, feel more creative in this interesting time we're going through. I'd love to give it to you, no charge whatsoever. My public service, my gift to you, just go to robinsharma.com, get on my mailing list. There should be a pop-up or something. Get on my mailing list. And once you're a subscriber, I think in about a week and a half, I'm going to release this lockdown meditation to everyone on my mailing list. 15 minutes. You can listen to it every day. I played for my son yesterday, my son Colby, who I'm blessed with an amazing family, and a very wise daughter, Bianca, and my son Colby, so wise and enthusiastic. And so I played the lockdown meditation for Colby, and he loved it. And so I said, no problem, Colby, I'll send it to you off my iPhone. And I hope he's going to listen to it. Anyway, what else on the point about Nelson Mandela? Oh, Zelda also said, this is unbelievable. She said, once Nelson Mandela was released from prison, before he became president of South Africa, when South Africa was on the verge of a civil war, he was removed from Robben Island, and he went to Drakensberg prison in Stellenbosch. And I actually went there after my visit in 2016 to Robben Island, where I stood in Nelson Mandela's prison cell, and something in me was just rewired on that wintry July day. And it's South Africa's under the equator, so winter is in July. And I sort of retraced the experience, and so then I went to this Drakensberg prison, and I actually saw the warden's home that Nelson Mandela was given. Though he was still in prison, he was still a prisoner, but he lived in the warden's home at Drakensberg prison, because they knew he would be taking over as the president of South Africa, and he would meet with his team. And if you've seen the footage, I think it was 1991 when he was released from that prison, it's incredibly moving, and you can find it on YouTube, where he walked out of the warden's home, and then he walked down this roadway, and I actually retraced his steps. So, I sort of felt in my heart when I did it that day in July of 2016. I said, this is the long walk to freedom. And when I walked down there was actually a guard at the guardhouse. And he said, this is exactly where Nelson Mandela walked. And then the gate went up, and Winnie was there, and he became free. And the guard personally told me, he said, we asked him, Mr. Mandela, would you like to be driven down the road to freedom. And he said, no, thank you, I'll walk. And what Zelda talked about in her podcast, if you're just joining me on this Instagram Live, Zelda Lagrange, or I don't know how to pronounce her name in Afrikaans properly, but she was Nelson Mandela's personal assistant for almost 20 years. I had the blessing of meeting her in Johannesburg a number of years ago. And she told me she read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and she was very gracious to me. And in this episode of her podcast, where she talks about lessons she learned from Nelson Mandela, she said something so amazing. She said, when Nelson Mandela became the president, he occupied, or he kept a very fast pace. And sometimes he actually said to her, I wish I was back in prison. And she couldn't believe it. Zelda said, Mr. Mandela, why would you want to be back on Robin Island? And he said, because it was so peaceful there. I had the time to read. I had the time to contemplate. I had a routine. She actually talked about his morning routine. Up at 4:30, exercising. Nelson Mandela, Madiba, as he's affectionately called using his clan name, was an incredibly disciplined man. He'd get up in the morning at Robin Island, 4:30 for you early risers. He'd do push-ups. He'd do running on the spot. He ate very carefully, and he would read. So, there's a lot of lessons for us in lockdown from Nelson Mandela. And I'm reading about so much lockdown anxiety, lockdown fatigue, and I'm not minimizing how you might be feeling. I'm here to help. Having said that, perspective is a beautiful thing. A lot of us have roofs over our heads, and we have food in our bellies, and we have good health. And I understand you might be bored, but you could write a book, you could write a screenplay, you could do an online course, you could start a garden, you could learn to meditate, you could run on the spot, you could do jumping jacks, you could learn to dance, you could talk to yourself in the mirror. I don't know what you want to do, but, many of us are not in prison. Many of us have food in our bellies. Many of us are not dying in a hospital room. Many of us are not in a war zone. Many of us are not, you get my point. It's the old Persian proverb, I cursed the fact I had no shoes until I saw the man who had no feet. So, let me give you some benefits that I see in lockdown. Number one, I encourage you to start a lockdown curriculum. Choose 12 books to read. Man's Search for Meaning, As You Think, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. There's so many amazing books that when you are living in the busyness and noise of life, many of us don't take the time to read. And again, I go back to Nelson Mandela using his time on Robin Island to read. And by the way, I see a lot of people doing things like, this is day 63 of lockdown. It's day 92 of lockdown. It's day 4 of lockdown. 79 days to go. I don't think that's a psychologically great way to set yourself up to be happy and focused and productive in lockdown. I work with physical trainers, in the old days remember the gym back, years ago? And you know what I'm sort of joking, but we don't get to go to the gym anymore. But when I would work with a trainer and they would say, Robin, do 50 push-ups. And they would count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to make it, I think, a powerful point here. So they go, Robin, do 50 push-ups. I go, okay. And they go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I said, please stop. I said, could you count down? 50, 49, 48, 47, 46. Psychologically, it's so much easier. So by saying, I'm in lockdown, today's day 1, today's day 2, today's day 3, what I learned from Zelda, who was Nelson Mandela's personal assistant for almost 2 decades, big idea here. She said when Nelson Mandela was on Robben Island, he kept a calendar, but he didn't know when he was going to be released. And he understood that psychologically, if he said, day 1, I have 20 more years, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, he would lose hope. And if you lose your hope, you lose everything. A lot of you know I'm working on my new book. Thank you for all the encouragement you've been giving me. This was a big week. I did 21 chapters of the book this week in lockdown. There are benefits for lockdown. I hardly have any email coming in. It's this enforced quietude is an amazing time to be creative. 21 chapters this week because and then I structure myself. I put on headphones. I did a picture in my Instagram feed. I play country music, that touches my heart. I posted my country music heartbreak playlist on my stories the other day. And so, you can curse the darkness or you can hold a candle. And so the point is, Nelson Mandela wasn't counting down the days to the end of lockdown because that's a dangerous sport. And psychologically, that's not how you fortify your hope. Be in the present. Stay steady. Stay steadfast. The Great Depression made people stronger. A lot of us are learning, Today I'm here at my workspace today, down at our headquarters. This is one of the places where I come to create and I come to work. And as I was driving down here, I saw more traffic on the road. And it's the first time in my life I was like, yeah, let's celebrate the traffic. People on the road, human beings, yeah. I was waving to people, honking the horn at the traffic, dancing in my car, pointing to people. Great traffic. Nice to see you in the traffic jam. And all joking aside, this lockdown is, and this world collapse, the crises, plural, it's not only the pandemic, it's the global financial collapse. I was reading this morning in the Financial Times, 22 million Americans lost their jobs since the closure of the American economy alone. 22 million. And so the Great Depression and the pandemic and the unemployment and the lockdown of economies, it hurts. I have vast empathy, but it also gives an opportunity to make us stronger and more grateful for the simple pleasures we lost. Even just being grateful for a job, being grateful for food, being grateful for food on the shelves in a grocery store. I like blueberries. Even just having a frozen blueberry, it's like such a simple grace to be grateful for. So benefits of this, it's a great time to build a lockdown curriculum and read. If you haven't read the 5 a.m. Club, I'm going to encourage you to read it or listen to the audio. People are loving the audiobook as well. Read the 5 a.m. Club. Someone said yesterday on a DM or maybe a public comment, Robin, the 5 a.m. Club and the methods you teach, like the 20-20-20 formula, the 10 rituals of daily genius, the 3-step success formula. I spent 4 years on the book. It's some of my best information that I teach to the billionaires and the athletes and the royalty. It's all in the 5 a.m. Club. And they said, Robin, it's providing me a shield for what's going on. Because if you learn the morning routine from 5 to 6 that I teach in the book, then you optimize your mindset, you open up your heart set, you build your health set, you upgrade your soul set. It makes you so much stronger. Your life feels so much different as you go through the day. Second benefit of lockdown, a resetting of priorities. chasing money isn't as important to people anymore. People are realizing how valuable family is. People are realizing the brilliance of an afternoon walk. People are spending more time in nature. People are saying, oh, I love reading or keeping a journal. Here's another important thing. People are realizing that spending time with yourself and working on yourself and caring for yourself, self-care, is mission critical. Blaise Pascal, the French mathematician, once said, most of man's miseries derive by his inability to sit quietly with himself. Before the global crises, very few of us spent time with ourselves. We didn't think. We didn't contemplate. We didn't just spend time being with ourselves. And if we were to go deeper, I'd say because we have a lot of wounds within us caused by macro and micro trauma. This is a lot of the new book I'm writing is about trauma. It's about heroism. It's about creativity. It's about bravery. And a lot of us have so many wounds, we sort of run from ourselves and we become too busy, or we spend too much time in entertainment, or we're too much of the world. We're too out in the world. And we can't be in the world now. I mean, it's incredible. We can't be in the world, so we're forced to be with ourselves. And when you're with yourself, you start to look at yourself. And that is the doorway into some growth. The DNA of transformation begins with awareness. You can't heal a wound that you're not even aware of. You can't upgrade a false belief that you don't even know about. You can't deal with a health issue that you don't even know about. You can't deal with a spiritual conflict that you've never paid any attention to. But once in lockdown, you're confronted with yourself. I mean, what I would say is a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm so bored, I don't know what to do. Ask yourself, why can't you find something to do? Whether it's learning to meditate, whether it's learning to pray if you don't pray, whether it's TED Talks, online courses, podcasts, interesting YouTube videos, books to read. There's so much to do. Third benefit of the situation we're all in is just, again, it's what Sonia Lyubomirsky, the eminent positive psychologist, calls deliberate gratitude. She says the happiest people, it's not just like random gratitude. Oh, it's New Year's Day, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. The happiest people structure, and here's a great term for you, mundanity. They literally do it every day, so deliberate gratitude becomes mundane. I mean, the elite performers are boring because they do the same thing every day. The same training regime, the same breakfast, the same cup of coffee, the same routine. And that's one of the fundamentals of making them great, mundanity. And so you want to make it mundane to celebrate simple things to be grateful for. Today is the first day. I'm not promoting Starbucks. I have no benefit or affiliation with Starbucks, but today's the first day in 5 weeks I've had a cup of Starbucks. And because, my family and I were really taking social distancing, physical distancing very seriously. And not only for the health of my family, and it's my duty to protect my family, but also to be respectful to members of the community. We all know this, but COVID is very contagious. It doesn't have the same fatality rate, from what I've read, as SARS. It's much lower than the bubonic plague, but from everything I've read, COVID-19 is very contagious. So we were in lockdown for the sake of our family, but also to protect the community. But today was the first day I put on a mask and I went out and I got a cup of Starbucks coffee, brought it here, wiped down the cardboard with a Lysol wipe, put it into a cup, washed my hands before, and enjoyed a cup of Starbucks coffee. First time in 5 weeks, and it was such a simple pleasure that we take for granted. And imagine right across the value chain of your entire life, if you celebrated everything, how happy would you be? Fourth benefit of the lockdown is we get to go for nature walks. Now I know, for example, in Spain, I posted a picture of a nature walk I did yesterday morning at about 6 o'clock in the woods that are by my house on my Instagram feed. And someone from Spain said, we're not allowed out of the house. And I believe, it's the same in Italy and other places. And so the country I live in, we're not allowed to go to parks, but there are certain forests where you can go for a walk. And just that nature walk this morning, watching the sun come up, or yesterday morning, was just, it was so amazing. And so for those of us who are allowed to do walks in the country that you're in, what a blessing. Fifth benefit, you can do some amazing creativity. If you're a coder, solitude is the laboratory for originality. I would write that one down. It just came to me. Solitude is a laboratory for rare air originality. You can choose to be bored and frustrated and angry. Nothing wrong with feeling your human emotions. Process them. And then pivot when the time is right so you don't get stuck in your emotions. And then ask yourself, how can I use this time to create my magic? How can I use this time in lockdown to do my Taj Mahal? And look, I get it took Shah Jahan and all the workers 21 years. Ask yourself, how can I do my Sistine Chapel ceiling? And I get it took Michelangelo 4 years to work on it. I'm just saying, in solitude, solitary is the doorway into originality. Write that piece of code that'll disrupt your marketplace. Write that book that'll change the world. Come up with that business plan that will allow you to launch a startup right now that changes the game. Come up with some ways to exercise and do whatever. We live in an amazing world. You can start a business with your phone right now. You can broadcast your own channel, and if you keep on doing it, get more viewers than famous television stations. Sixth benefit of the lockdown, increased neighborliness. We're just being kinder to our neighbors. Even if we see them, we wave to them more. And if there's elderly neighbors, I was reading about two teenagers somewhere in America, and they started a service, not for profit, and the seniors set what groceries they want, and these teenagers and their brigade of teenage heroes go pick up the groceries and drop them off for seniors. Jack Dorsey, who with Evan Williams founded a little company you might have heard of called Twitter, as well as Square, the payment app, he didn't give away a little bit of money, he gave away $1 billion. And so, large or small, we're all doing our part. We're all doing our part to help our communities. We're all doing our part to add value to people. And I'm also seeing a lot of people are reaching out to people they haven't talked to for a long time, that they haven't forgiven. I did a podcast interview with a major Swedish podcaster, one of the top podcasters in Europe, and he told me, and then he said it publicly during the interview, so I can share it. But he said, my business partner and I had a fight, and it became a messy issue, and we stopped talking to each other. And as a result of the pandemic and the changes in the world, I reached out to him, and we're friends again, and I forgave him. And forgiveness is not just something you do for that person, because that person's hurting. Forgiveness is also a gift you give yourself. I think it was Mark Twain who said, forgiveness is the fragrance that this is great. Well, it's not me, it's Mark Twain. So Mark Twain is great. Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that crushed it. It's a great time to reach out to a family member, a loved one, a friend, a business partner, a supplier that you've had a fight with and make amends. Life's too short to carry grudges. Oh, seventh benefit of the lockdown is Mother Nature is breathing again. Planes are not flying, lower carbon footprint, no clogged highways, much less traffic, less smog. Factories are put on pause. I bet you marine life is coming back. I read about a city near the Himalayas where the inhabitants can see the Himalayas for the first time in 10 years. And I'm not minimizing the sadness and the suffering that so many people are experiencing. But at a macro level, Mother Nature knows what she's doing. And this is a great resetting on our planet. And it's a huge wake-up call for all of us to slow down, to reconnect, to express our creativity, to be the heroes of our own lives, to take care of the environment, to do work that delivers value versus taking from your clients or the marketplace, to return to meditation, to return to nature, to return to journaling, to return to the Sabbath, to return to days without digital, to return to waving to your neighbors, to return to saying, hey, thanks for letting me into traffic, to return to eating clean, to return to getting away from processed foods, to return to working on ourselves, to return to remembering that we're all brothers and sisters on this little planet. Let's break down the walls and build the bridges, and let's reconnect again. Okay, last points. So do a lockdown curriculum to read some books. By the way, if you haven't read my War Measures manual, massive downloads of it, free public service from me to you. People are finding it extraordinarily valuable. It explains how to protect your mindset, how to bulletproof your business, your family, how to navigate these difficult times. So literally, you thrive during adversity. You can get it for free. Just go to the link in my profile and download the War Measures Manual. And please, all I ask is that you share it with your family and you share it with your friends. That's all I ask. It's no charge whatsoever. Go to the link in my profile, download it. And because so many people found it so valuable to stay positive and strong and confident and battle-proof themselves during this difficult time, guess what, guys? I wrote a follow-up. And I'm releasing it today is Friday, I'm releasing it tomorrow. And it's called, you're going to love this, or you might not love it, but it's called the Victory Over Difficulty Report. And if you want to get the Victory Over Difficulty Report, it's 15 pages, and it explains how heroes build strong mentalities, what are their daily routines, how do the strongest people of history and currently develop themselves so they actually grow during hard times. And I'm releasing it tomorrow. If you want to get it, just go to robinsharma.com, subscribe to my mailing list, and tomorrow you'll get an email from me, no charge whatsoever, complete access to the Victory Over Difficulty report. And like I mentioned, if you're just joining us, I recorded a 15-minute meditation, guided meditation. I think I'm going to start doing more of them. And it's called the Lockdown Meditation, and I'm going to be sending that to people on my mailing list in about 10 days. So again, if you want to, just go to robinsharma.com and get onto my mailing list, and you'll get that as well. Last few things. Exercise every morning. If Nelson Mandela could do it at 4:30 in his tiny prison cell on Robben Island over 18 years, we sure can. Secondly, Nelson Mandela was super careful in the 18 years on Robben Island about what he ate. He was given very poor food at the beginning. At the very beginning, he wasn't even allowed trousers, even though it was terrifyingly cold. Because of the color of his skin, he was forced to wear shorts, thin cotton shorts, on Robben Island, until he just protested, and eventually, he said, other people can have trousers, I need to have trousers, and we must have trousers. But if he could exercise, we can exercise. And if he could be careful about his nutrition, we can be more careful about our nutrition in lockdown and afterward in a post-COVID-19 world. If he could read books every day, we can read books every day. I mean, reading, it doesn't have to be my books, but one of my greatest wishes for you is may this time of enforced quietude be the time you reconnect with a love of learning. Read beautiful books. Read of the philosophy that has been written. Read about how to build a great business. Read about, if you want to be super rich, read about it. If you want to learn about a great morning routine, read about it. If you want to learn about psychology, read about it. If there's one thing I have done, I come from very humble beginnings. In my new book that I'm writing, if you're just joining us, I wrote 21 chapters of my new book this week because of the lockdown. And the new book, people are saying, when's it going to be released? My publisher has asked me, please don't say when it's going to be released. But I'm simply going to say the new book is very much a memoir. I talk a lot about my personal struggles, my personal sufferings. And one of the things I also talk about is I come from very humble beginnings. I don't come from a creative family. I don't come from a business family. I don't get, but how I did it, if I have done anything, is through books, through audiobooks, through learning, through mentors. Reading a book is communing with the mind of the author for $25, $30, or go buy used books, $5. You can read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. You can read about Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, or there's a few other books, by the way. There's one book about Nelson Mandela, his prison letters. Read that book. There's another great book by Richard Stengel, who wrote Nelson Mandela's autobiography, I believe, with him. And it's called The Mandela Way. I bought it in Cape Town a few years ago at the bookstore. Every time you go to, I believe it's Oliver Tambo, maybe that's Joburg. Anyway, whenever I go to the Cape Town airport, there's a bookstore. I think it's Exclusive Books, and I always buy a few books because there's always books on Nelson Mandela. So I always walk out of that store with a bunch of books, and one of the books I bought was The Mandela Way. It's a great book, just awesome book. So use this time in lockdown to fall in love with learning again. Like, you read the right books, it just collapses the timeline. Most of us spend our whole lives how to figure out, how do you build a great business? How do you, become a worldwide influencer if that's of interest to you? How do you become a great human being? How do you become happier? How do you sleep better? Whatever it is, read the right books. And journaling. I mean, this morning, just before you caught me here, I was journaling. And I did a Instagram live the other day about journaling, and it's just a great way to record your thoughts. If you don't think about your thoughts, then how are you going to know what to improve? I mean, clarity precedes mastery. You want to be so clear on who you are, what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, where you want to take your mission. If you're an entrepreneur, so many business builders and CEOs and titans of industry follow me. Jack Welch, who sadly passed away relatively recently, one of the great titans of industry, General Electric, he said, my leadership team were so clear on our mission, I could call them up at 3 a.m. and in their sleep, they could say where we were going. So you want to be super clear about the things that are important, and you want to be super clear about your brighter future. And you know what? A lot of countries are coming out of lockdown now, and I think it's going to be a messy time for quite a while. But the light, the rays at the end of the tunnel are getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And let me end Instagram Live on a bright note. If you go to a macro level, the bubonic plague, it killed half of Europe. COVID-19 isn't anything like the bubonic plague in terms of the mortality rate. And so even the bubonic plague, we survived. Those who survived, as a species, we survived. You are more powerful, strong, creative, brave, inventive than you know. Please don't give away your power to COVID-19. Please don't give away your power to a collapsing economy. Restaurants are closing, I feel. Other restaurants are pivoting to home delivery, takeout, making food kits that people can pick up and then learn how to cook at home, and doing video tutorials with the chef teaching them. You have so much more power than you know. I mean, the whole story of human greatness was ordinary women and men, Rosa Parks, Mahatma Gandhi, a barrister in South Africa, who changed the world. You look at Oprah Winfrey, difficult childhood. But you see, the people we put on pedestals as cut from a different cloth and lucky, you don't get lucky. You handcraft lucky. And so let's not give away, you, me, I'm no guru, ordinary human being on fire to serve. But let's not give away our power to the virus. Let's not give away our power to a collapsing economy. We can say, oh, it's impossible. Oh, that's all, Robin, it's easier in your books. Some people say to me, very politely, but Robin, it's easy in your books. It's easy to say that. It's easy to say lead without a title. It's easy to say look for opportunity in adversity. Guess what? I agree. It's always easy. It's always easy to say get up at 5 a.m., run the 20-20-20 formula that I teach in the 5 a.m. club, and watch what happens. I get it. Of course. Ideas without execution are delusion. Of course it's easy just to... Reading a book, yeah, I mean, unapplied, there's no real value. It's hard work executing on it. You confront your demons. You have to slay your dragons. Getting up early isn't always easy. Writing this book I'm writing, I had an amazing week this week. 2 weeks ago, nothing was coming. The muse, I was knocking on the door. The muse was not coming out to play. I mean, this new book, it's a lot of sweat equity. I've struggled on this new book. Some days, nothing came. I was discouraged. And then boom, I stayed with the process because creativity is a process. And over the past 2 weeks, like I said today, I'm no one special. I was up at 3:23. I don't know why. Tons of energy. So, I mentioned if you're interested in creativity and the messiness of the process, you can look at my post with my headphones on. I think it was yesterday morning. It's all a blur to me now. But I did a post where I expressed my own creative struggles and how hard it is and how beautiful it is. And if you have a great week, it's inspiring and it's a shot in the arm to keep going. Anyway, look, let me just go to some questions. If you have any questions. Life Worth is from India. How are you? Nikhil says you are going to wake me up. Okay, that's good. That's my job. Someone says I'm so special. Alex says you're so special. I'm not special. I work hard. I'm focused. I battle-proof my energy and my hope, and I created these structures and routines and mindsets, heart sets, health sets, and soul sets. I talk about them all in the 5 a.m. club. I live them as best as I can. Am I perfect? No. Do I get up at 5 a.m. every day? No. Sometimes I get up at 3:23, and sometimes I feel tired, and that's okay. One of the chapters in the new book is it's okay not to be okay. Someone says you are the coach to my coach, Todd Stoddelmeyer. That's official Sean Burke. Sean, just tell Todd he's awesome. For all of you around the world who don't know Todd Stoddelmeyer, he is a Hall of Fame professional baseball player who played for the championship Toronto Blue Jays. And Todd came to one of my events, Personal Mastery Academy, a few years ago. And just a great human being. And I interviewed him on the stage, and he talked about his father, and he talked about everything. So Sean, tell Todd I say a massive hello, and I send him lots of love. Someone said I'm so original. You know what? We all have originality within us. Too many of us have had our creativity beaten out of us by a cold world. And your job and my job is to reclaim and remember the creativity and originality that you knew when you were 3 years old, before people told you to stop coloring outside of the lines. Part of the new book, part of the new book is about reclaiming your pirate nature. Wink, wink. You want to be a great entrepreneur, you've got to be a bit of a pirate. You want to be a great artist, you've got to be a bit of a pirate. You can't follow what everyone else is doing. I remember being in the Born district in Barcelona, and if you've never been to Barcelona, when lockdown comes off, go to the Picasso Museum in Barcelona. And there was I don't know if it's still there, this is about 7 years ago, there was a plaque on the wall and said, people were disturbed by the genius of Picasso. Your genius has to disturb people, and that's why they'll hate you. They'll hate all over you because you're so glorious in your originality. Here's a great question. Sergio at Trejos asks, can you recommend a couple of books, especially for these times? Absolutely. By the way, at the end of the War Measures Manual, you can download it for free. Amazing value. It will help you during these difficult times. Go to my profile, click on the link, read the War Measures Manual. At the very end, 10 books to read. Sergio, 10 books to read. But some that come to mind, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran, the great Lebanese poet. When Things Fall Apart by Pema Chodron. Here's a book not many people know about. The Go-Getter, Peter Kine. Amazing book. About when doors close, find the next one. A Long Walk to Freedom, Nelson Mandela. The Way of Mandela, Richard Stengel. The Alchemist, my friend Paulo Coelho. Oh, here's an amazing book. Fahrenheit 451. Amazing book. George Orwell, Animal Farm. Great book to read in lockdown. Last two, I just want to be of real value on these last two. You know, there's a book that changed my life. I don't think I've ever shared it publicly. I'm going through my library and I just saw it yesterday. It changed my life about 20 years ago. It's by a doctor, an Indian doctor who became a monk. And it's called Success in Life Through God Realization. If you don't believe in God, that's okay. But I found that book in a yoga center. And it's one of the books that changed my life. So if you can find it, it's by Swami Shivananda. It's a great philosophical book. And the 10th book I would recommend, well, I'm reading who's the biographer of Steve Jobs? Isaacson. So I'll give you 11. Number 10 would be Da Vinci, the biography of Da Vinci by Walter Isaacson, primo. And he also wrote the Steve Jobs biography, Walter Isaacson. Just two phenomenal books I would recommend. Okay, hope that's valuable to you guys. And what else? Someone says stay home. I've been evangelizing staying home since the beginning of March. So definitely stay home. I mentioned that I came down to my office. I'm just checking on my office. First time in 5 weeks, I think. And working on the new book here. War Measures Manual is there at the profile. 10 books, When Things Fall Apart. Okay, someone's just repeating it for everyone. That's awesome. Thank you. Farah says, I'm awesome, so are you. Someone says, Lucy says, my books are awesome. Someone says, any philosophy book? Well, of course, I'd say meditation. Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And of course, I'm gonna suggest you read. Guess what books are coming back on the bestseller list? The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, after I published it first in 1998. And people are saying it's more relevant than ever before. So, of course, read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It'll transform your life like it has for millions of people. And guess what else is coming back? Who Will Cry When You Die? I wrote that in 1998, and now people are talking more than ever about legacy. So read Who Will Cry When You Die. And I just want to bring awesome value to you. I would strongly encourage you today to read the 5 AM Club. It's transforming the lives of so many people right now because it's full of tactics and real value. I have no problem encouraging you to read the 5 AM Club in full integrity and great passion for your heroic nature. Someone says, can you help me? I don't know what that is. Someone says, what about A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle? Absolutely relevant for these days. I mean, he was one of my new favorite words is prescient. Prescient. which means you can see into the future. And in A New Earth, he sure predicted a lot of where we're at. So if you haven't read A New Earth, absolutely. Great book, by the way. And by the way, if you don't like to read, listen to audiobooks. You can go through a book in a day. Someone says, we don't have your books in my country. Well, you should be able to get them from Amazon. You should be able to get the downloads. There are a few countries where you can't get them. I understand that. Someone said, Ladies Nation says, read 5 a.m. Awesome. Oh, David Harley. How are you, David? Nice to see you. You're so kind to me on Instagram. You said Mega Living. Oh, people think The Monk was my first book. Mega Living was the first book I wrote. Oh, someone's listening. What a great question. This is Lily's Tradorios. Please tell us about the cities that inspire you. Well, I believe we all have cities that when we land in the plane and walk on the jetway, and that's what we're going to be allowed to do that again in the future. It won't be the same. Bill Gates, I was reading, he says business travel will never be the same, and I think he's probably right. But we're going to travel again, and human beings are nomadic. We have to travel. We have to explore the world. We are adventurers. And so we all have places where when we go there, we just feel more alive. And for some people it's Barcelona, and some people it's wherever. And I love Barcelona, and it's one of the places where when I go to Barcelona, I feel alive. Of course, if you've been following me, Roma, and for any Italians who are, following, it just broke my heart to see what happened in Italy. And of course in New York and Spain and all the other places where the surge was so incredibly enormous. And I think what happened, other countries, especially in the West, saw it, and then we were able to pivot a bit more. But for me, Rome, like when I go to Rome, I write in Rome. And one of the reasons why the new book has taken so much struggle is I haven't been in Rome. Because I think, you need, as an artist, I have to get away from my usual life and get lost, And so I go to Rome, and I go to Mauritius, that's another place. And I go to Paris, and I write in, St. Petersburg, Russia, and I write a lot in London. And so those are the few places that are most valuable to me. Great questions, you guys. Last question. Someone says, where do I get my motivation from? I get my motivation from the fire in my belly to help as many people as possible before I am dust. My mission, bordering on an obsession, is to shine a light on the primal genius and native greatness that lives in every person on the planet. Not just the billionaires I mentor, not just the CEOs I coach, not just the NBA athletes who come to me. Everyone has amazingness in them. And the world has caused us to lose that access. And that's what I'm doing my best as just one human being. I'm trying to wake people up and turn on the lights within them, and then give them the methodologies and tactics and daily routines to show them exactly how they can exploit their neurobiology and their natural creativity to come back to life, because there are too many cyber zombies on the planet, and sheeple versus people. And we all need to work together to wake up for the benefit of the world. Thanks, guys. Stay healthy, stay safe, stand in good courage, and remain of good bravery. I send you lots of love. Bye-bye.